well, welcome to the Sawyer on Water podcast. We are here on the beautiful Rogue River in Hellgate on the Rogue, just above the Wild and Scenic section. And we're continuing on our podcast series with industry news and kind of current events, what's going on in our industry and locally here in Oregon. Today, I am happy to be joined by Priscilla and Luke with the Oregon State Marine Board. And we're going to dive into a few topics that pertain to the State Marine Board and also just give you a little idea of what the State Marine Board does in the state of Oregon, and more than likely there's something similar in your state as well. So I'll turn it over to Priscilla and let them introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of get it going from there.
Thanks, Zach. I'm Priscilla Macy Cruiser. I'm the Boating Safety Advocate Program Coordinator at the Oregon State Marine Board, and I operate all across the state, but I'm home based in Salem, Oregon. I'll toss it on to Luke.
My name is Luke Martinez. I work for Curry County Aquatic Safety, and my official title with the program is I'm an aquatic safety officer, lifeguard for the program. But our program has been operating under the Boating Safety Advocate contract for the last 4 years. And we're based out of our county annex out of Gold Beach, Oregon.
Nice. And just for everybody, Gold Beach, Oregon is where the Rogue ends up. So you actually do have the Rogue in part of your territory, correct?
Yeah.
Nice. So when we say Oregon State Marine Board, if you're a business owner or if you're a guide outfitter, you definitely know what your dealings are with the Oregon State Marine Board. But some of the things that we want to cover today is like what affects the general public with the State Marine Board.
Yeah, that's a great question. So as a public state agency, we like to think that most of the stuff that we do is to a benefit of the public, even if sometimes people feel like it's a little bit of a burden to be compliant with rules. We like to think that most of our rules are there to help keep people safe in many different ways. So like Zach mentioned, the Outfitter Guide Program is one of the ways that we serve the public. If you take your family on a guided trip, you might want to make sure or know that there's some sort of system to ensure the integrity of the guide and the company itself, right? So one of the ways that is done is through our agency. We ensure that the guide outfitter is in fact insured, that their guides and anyone operating in a guiding capacity is certified in a way that meets state criteria standards. We ensure that background checks are run on these guides and outfitters. And another component that people don't think about is ensuring that if it's a guided outfit or activity that involves fishing or hunting, we're also partnering with our Department of Fish and Wildlife to ensure that that is done in a legal way and that poaching isn't taking place. So that's one of the ways that we like to think that we benefit the state as a whole, making sure that families are safe when they sign up for a guided tour, ensuring that all guides are following the rules so there's no things going on, unfair competition between guides, and that things are all done in a legal and safe way.
Absolutely. And also, there's a lot of multi-agencies that cover certain stretches of river, and so does the State Marine Board have outreach programs where they're working with law enforcement, BLM, Forest Service, that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we coordinate, depending on what the situation is, we coordinate amongst all the other state agencies involved with waterways and guiding services. We have coordinated with law enforcement over the years, very early on, since I think 1960 is when we started our law enforcement contracts with both state police and county sheriff's departments. So we help fund the Marine Patrol, which is really helpful, especially for some of the counties that maybe wouldn't otherwise have enough funding to fully sponsor a Marine Patrol. Luke knows a little bit about that as well in his county. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so my understanding currently is that the Oregon State Marine Board is contracting with 32 counties, correct?
That sounds
in
right.
the state, 32 counties. And it's been a really robust program. I've had the privilege to work with the program, helping in the training program. And some things that have come back about the training program nationally is it's been nationally recognized for its uniqueness and just the integrity of the training itself. So that's been really neat to be involved with that with these counties. So there's a lot of Marine deputies that have worked as Marine deputies for a long time throughout the state, and we still have quite a few that are still, been 10 years of 10, 15, 20 years. And so to have that knowledge and be able to pass it along to new deputies is pretty neat. And to see that that revolvement come through, it's such a great program. There's I think, well, let's see, how many different we have? 5 different sessions we've got. They offer a personal watercraft, so jet ski program. They have a swift water program, and then deputies have a drift school that they go to. Before that, they have a Marine Academy that they run. They get deputies familiarized with the state laws, boating in general, water safety, and that's a 2-week program that they run. And then they have the drift program that they run here on the Rogue, the Upper Rogue, and then they have the jet program, which they teach students how to drive a jet boat.
And that's at Gold Beach, right?
Yeah, that's in Gold Beach, yeah. And the precursor for that class is that they have to go through the drift program. And now students have to have 20 training hours basically before they come to the training. So they come in with some familiarization of what it means to run rivers.
Now, being in Coos County, do you also, do you do any, or Curry County, sorry, do you do any coordinated trainings like with the Coast Guard?
Yeah, so on that level, yeah, our program under the state, our contract is we work a lot on the prevention side, right? So
right.
Boating safety advocates work on prevention, outreach before things happen. Is kind of the biggest goal, especially within the schools, right? Teaching kids about water safety. And then, like you saw at the boat ramp, Priscilla and I handing out whistles and wristbands to people that are compliant with wearing a life jacket.
Yep, absolutely.
Because as we say, it doesn't do really any good if you just have it in the boat. You don't really have time to put it on. Right?
Yeah.
It's just,
part of our whole advocacy at the store is literally like buying a life jacket is one of those things that you definitely should do yourself a service and support buying local.
Right.
Because you don't want to just mail order a life jacket and just assume that it's going to fit super nice. Because you want to get a life jacket that you really like the way it fits, therefore you'll actually wear it.
Right.
And parents as well is like where, a lot of times they're struggling with their kid to wear the life jacket is because the life jacket just doesn't fit real well.
Right? Yeah.
But that's the thing is like life jackets almost should be like, it's almost like we could have a statewide life jacket fitting.
Right.
Because it's like literally, it's like, have you had your life jacket fitted?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really, it kind of goes hand in hand with getting people to wear it. Is like it has to be one that actually fits and it's comfortable.
Yeah.
When I talk with fishing guides, I'll throw that over to you in a sec. But when I talk to fishing guides, like a lot of times in hard boats, and they're running kind of non-consequential water, class 1, class 2. They typically have them for their guests and have them out readily available, but they're not wearing them all the time.
Yeah.
And what I notice is that as a generalization, fishing guides don't have super comfortable life jackets.
Yeah.
They just kind of get something, they can get 3 of them all the same, and it's a universal and it's to fit everybody.
Yeah.
And then if they are running a rapid that is a bigger rapid than some of their normal runs, then they're going to take that time and fit everybody and be like, okay, you're going to put your life jacket on, give me the rod back and sit down, don't swing around, and we're going to go navigate through this. And then after that, it's like, okay, well, that was the only rapid that we're really concerned about. Right. So now you can put it back on your chair. But, it's just kind of like, one, making sure they have the life jacket with them.
Yeah.
It's like,
You do need to carry a life jacket per person on the vessel.
Exactly.
It needs to be accessible. So that's something our Marine deputies that train with us help identify. Generally, a lot of it's, preventative outreach.
Right,
Did you know the
right.
rule? Well, you should. If you didn't, sometimes we have extra on hand that we give because we want to make sure people are safe. We try to make sure that people are well equipped and informed, because sometimes the information doesn't always make it all the way down the chain to all of the users in the whole state.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like you guys basically, it is a program probably run through locals that goes through the State Marine Board, the life jacket centers that are at the put-ins and stuff. 'Cause we rolled down there to Indian Marion. There was one right there at the boat ramp.
Yeah.
And those aren't going to be the greatest fitting, but if
They'll keep
it's
you
for the
afloat.
person that's not having a life jacket, it's like ideal. It's like, yes, here's a life jacket that anybody can wear. You can get a horse collar jacket on, put that strap on. If you will put the straps all in the right place, it's going to work fine.
And the cool thing about that too is on our website, boat.oregon.gov. If you're ever curious, if you're like, oh no, I don't have a life jacket, or my friends are visiting, we don't have life jackets, we want to go for this float, there's a map on our website, again, that's boat.oregon.gov, where you can see a map of all the loaner stations that we know of. And we have field staff that, like myself, that if we see a new one go up, it gets added to that map.
Right.
So it's pretty comprehensive.
So it's just like folks that are like, you're used to it when they're actually shopping, like from a vendor like us, we have a dealer locator.
Exactly.
And the same thing where, any company typically that you buy from for your store will have a dealer locator, which will basically tell you all the dealers in the country that are carrying said product.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like you have a life jacket locator, and we have that in the state of Oregon. Are they mostly run by, is it volunteer, or is it Forest Service?
It varies
or is
pretty
it
greatly.
Law enforcement, or is it
so
fire
they can
rescue?
apply. So we don't own or maintain any of them. Though when we have, say, donated life jackets and we have an excess of them, we would sometimes go upon community member requests. We just actually did this in Independence, Oregon, which is not far from Salem.
Right.
A community member reached out and said, our loaner stations, I don't know what happened. They got stolen. People forgot they were loaners. It doesn't matter. They're low. We don't have very many.
Right.
Do you have extras? They're like, oh, actually this year we do have a little bit of extra. We sent 3 staff members down there. We restocked them. And it was great. So if community members have requests like that, they can always reach out to us, give us a call. If we have an excess of life jackets that are donated to us, then we're happy to help fulfill that need, because it is a really important part of prevention, is the availability of these safety tools. So we don't manage or own them, but we do provide grants to people who apply for them through some of our fees from, say, like non-motorized or our boating facilities. We provide grant funds that are open to apply to nonprofits, cities, Forest Service, those sort of things. So if, say, State Park says, I'd really like a loaner station at Hogs Creek where we put in today on the road, they could apply for that grant. They'd provide some level of matching funds, and we could help them build a loaner station. And then they would then maintain it, or there'd be some sort of agreement with maybe Josephine County. There's various ways it works out. But we help provide.
So that is definitely one of those things that is a multi-agency
collaborative
involvement for sure.
And a lot of times, like in Curry, all the loaner stations are different, from state parks to local parks to Forest Service, and the Marine Board provides a lot signage templates too, right? So that a lot of the templates now are bilingual, and offer all the information for safe boating on them. And then it's up to whoever's putting the kiosk out there, loaner station, to provide the life jackets. Like we just had a local retailer, Nicole Beach Lumberyard, bought a bunch of life jackets, and they've been going around to a lot of the loaner stations within the county and restocking them.
Oh, nice.
It was so
great. So it's also a way for businesses to engage with safe boating in their area.
And another a nonprofit to note for our audience is the Nautical Safety Foundation. Provides a lot of free life jackets upon request. They're based out of they're up in Northern Oregon. I believe they're in Beaverton. But I just actually had a friend say, where can I donate these barely used life jackets?
Right.
Nautical Safety Foundation. They then turn around, they evaluate them, make sure they're still in working order. and they can provide them to communities for loaner stations, to sheriff's departments to hand out to people that need them. So if you are a interested community member and see a need or see a loaner station that you'd like to help stock, Nautical Safety Foundation is a great resource to reach out to, and especially in Oregon. They are based here in Oregon.
Nice. Luke, let's go with a couple forwards.
Some on the, I guess, we're talking about the importance of life jackets, and everybody's saying, well, what's the importance of life jackets? Why are we wearing these? Just about that is that on the grim portion of it, for the last 6 years, we've seen a steady incline of non-motorized boating-related fatalities.
Right.
This year, for instance, I think we're up, I don't know the exact number, but we're up to close to 16. And all of the boating-related fatalities this year in the state of Oregon are non-motorized. Every single one of those fatalities, the victims were not motorized.
Right.
It just kind of puts it in perspective.
And I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I actually used the analogy of the personal float craft, which has gone, way broad scope of what that really means.
Right.
But the personal float craft person on the river is like the snowmobiler in the avalanche area. Their ability to get someplace is extremely high bar, like no problem. You bought the money, you buy the 800cc snow machine, and you can get into that starting zone.
Yeah.
But do you have avalanche awareness, any of that? No. Let's back it up. And so with that, let's talk just a little bit about, that's a good segue into stand-up paddleboarding.
Oh, see how one.
And, stand-up paddleboarding is definitely something that has a wide variance.
Yeah.
Let's keep it into this eddy. And so, there's definitely, when most people hear stand-up paddleboarding, what do they think of? They think of, they think of Hawaii, they think of the lakes, they think of flat water. And now there is this subculture of the industry, which are basically taking paddleboards on the river. And unfortunately, that's where there is a huge educational gap needed, because people don't quite equate running the river on a paddleboard with really the intensity that it should have. The person taking a stand-up paddleboard on a whitewater stretch of any level, class 1, 2, or 3, but class 1 and 2 is typically where people think, oh yeah, it's just class 1 and 2. I can float through it on an inner tube, which is fine, but if you're floating through it on your board and you have the wrong equipment, the wrong leash, and the wrong attachment point, then you're actually worse off than the inner tube, right? And so if you want to talk a little bit about that, and then we can do a little share and tell.
Yeah.
Oh.
So in Oregon here, we are in a state of rivers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but last I checked, Oregon has the largest number of federally designated wild and scenic rivers out of any other state. The only state that beats us is in miles in Alaska, because they got a lot of long rivers. But we have the most rivers that are wild and scenic out of any other state, to give you a frame of reference. So what's that mean? That means a lot of people are recreating on moving water in our state, especially over here, west of the Cascades. In southern Oregon in the Siskiyou area. So moving water, it's something that I've been familiar with most of my life growing up in southern Oregon. But for some people traveling, they might see, like the Deschutes is somewhere where we see a lot of accidents, because it's this river that's calm and then it starts moving, or it's moving just enough to have current. So what happens on a stand-up paddleboard is, if you don't have a leash and a system that you can get out of, a releasable system, a quick release system, is if you get stuck around, say, a log, or even a branch sticking out from a log, or a rock that's sticking up that you can't see because the water's not perfectly clear, or you fell off and you didn't see it ahead, is the board's going to go one direction around it and you are going to go the other direction. Water's very powerful and very heavy. You know the pounds per gallon 7 something. It's a lot. Don't quote me on the pounds, but it's a lot. So if you think of how many gallons are in a river, even a small river, it's a lot of force going against you. There's no way even the strongest person I know is going to be able to crunch themselves up and reach down while they're trying to catch some air and release their ankle leash. It would be an extraordinary feat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, and it's like one of those things. I mean, if you think about the fact that, what happens is you have the leash on, the board gets caught up, or something gets caught between you and the board and the leash. And with the improper leash, the not correct leash, yeah, you're trying to curl up to get this thing off of your ankle, which is next to impossible when you're getting pushed in the current. And so really the big discussion is not really leash or not leash, but it's the correct leash. And so having the correct leash where it literally just hooks to you, we'll hook it to there, where it's hooked to your life jacket, and your leash is caught, your board's caught. All you got to do is pull that pin. Now the board and everything are free. You're free to float away from it. And that's at your waist. So it's basically any place that you can get to with your hand. And if you think about it, like if you were hanging over the edge of a really steep cliff or a steep slope, and you were tied off by your foot, or you were tied off from your waist, which one do you think you would actually be able to get a hold of that line and pull you back up by? And it's like, well, yeah, if the line's right around my waist, I'll just grab it here and I'm going to pull myself up the hill. But if it's on your foot, that's just not even considering the flow of water. You still have to do a pretty Herculean turn to basically pull up to your foot. So that's kind of some of the things that we try and explain to folks. And it's like, really, there's a large variance of releasable leashes out there. And so like, that's the thing, is like, if you think of a whitewater paddleboarder as a kayaker setup, where if you're a whitewater kayaker, you have a life jacket, you have a helmet, you have a spray skirt, you have a throw bag in your boat. Like, those are basic things that you should have if you're going to do whitewater paddleboarding. If you're going to do a paddleboard in the whitewater, life jacket, definitely, like we've already talked about. Helmet, because you are standing up on something, so you're actually, your fall point is way higher than if you were sitting in an inflatable kayak. And then, literally having the releasable leash and the throw bag on your board. And then the other thing is people wear, insulation, because you are going to spend a lot of time in the water if the river's really cold, and also protection. Proper footwear, but also some padding as well as you get more serious into it. And unfortunately, like what we see on the river is, I go on the river a lot in multiple crafts. And when I go on the river on a paddleboard, I have all that equipment. But when I go on the river in my drift boat or in my raft, and I'm fishing a hole, and I look up and I see somebody coming down on a stand-up paddleboard, and one, they have a life jacket, but it's bungeed to the deck of their board.
It's the most common thing I see.
They have a leash, but it's hooked to their ankle, or they have no leash, and there's no throw bag, there's no protection, and they're kind of like, they're geared up like they're going on the lake. And I guess that's kind of like the whole piece, is like, the river is not the lake.
Moving water is a different animal.
Moving water is something you need to prepare for.
So you touched on something that I want Luke to elaborate on, is the cold water. You talked about layering. So Luke, we were just doing a situation on the upper road near Shady Cove where you were stand-up paddleboarding. It was 102 degrees.
Yeah. 55-degree water.
55-degree water. You were cold.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about like cold water immersion, and because we see a lot of fatalities happen from that?
That's a good one. I know I was going to get lost in the demographics of paddleboarding. How popular, like every year we see this, like everybody says, oh, the uptick in paddleboarding. It continues to happen. And as a retailer, you probably see this as like, but this year, in general, I'm just like, oh, everybody's paddleboarding, which is great. Like everybody's showing up. Right. It's such an awesome form of recreating on the river. But as you talked about with the quick release system, if you're on a river, on moving water. The biggest thing I see, I touch on this real quick, is I see a lot of people showing up a boat ramp and they do have a life jacket, but it is stuffed under something. It's not attached to something.
Right.
And I always ask them, I was like, look, the probability of you, especially if you're a novice, even if you're not a novice, of falling on a stand-up paddleboard is high, right? It's going to happen. It happens. And so by you falling, and then you're not attached via leash if you're on the river, should not be if you don't have quick release system, then your board's gone and your life jacket's gone. So it doesn't really do you any good stuff.
You're not connected to it.
Yeah, you got to wear it. And then the same with the people wearing leashes with no life jacket that are coming down, and they don't have a quick release system, and they don't know. And I think some of that has to do with some of these manufacturers too, not pointing at them, that are building, making these affordable, cost-effective stand-up paddle.
Well, then that is part of the problem.
Right.
Is because, yes, they're readily available, but there's such a wide variance.
Yeah.
Like if you pursue and go look out to buy a river paddleboard, they're completely different than the $2.99 special you're going to find on Amazon, or the $3.99 everything included you're going to find at Costco.
Right.
But the consumer's like, looks like a paddleboard, smells like a paddleboard, must be a paddleboard, let's go paddling.
Right.
And it's like, that's great, it's getting people out paddling, but
there's no instructions on what safe protocols are. Yeah. And so what you see with these people, to dive into the cold water immersion, it happens a lot, is people show up with their paddleboard, maybe up in Shady Cove, right? They just got it. Let's get on the river. It's a really hot day. I have no thermal protection. I'm just wearing my board shorts. And you get in the water and you start paddling, and then you do fall in. And cold water immersion, cold water shock is real, right? As soon as you fall into 55-degree water, and you say you're in a warm environment, maybe not in a warm environment, you are going to gasp for air. It happens to everybody. It's something you can't control, right? And so that's that first stage of gasping for air. You're in the water. You may breathe water into your lungs, and that's considered the first stage of drowning. It is, and there's a bunch of different stages, and but that right there is it's a downward spiral. So again, back to the importance of, if you're going to get on the water, the most crucial piece is just wearing a life jacket, right?
It's like in your car. We all put our seatbelts on, for the most part, you should at least. It is the law. But if you're in a grocery store parking lot, if you're coming on your residential street, if you're on the freeway, almost all of us wear our life jackets without much thought. Because if you're in an accident, I think everyone would agree, there's not going to be enough time to think about putting my seatbelt on in the middle of an accident, right? Like who
I'm
do that?
flying off the road. I better grab that seatbelt.
Oh God, I better put it on. So it's the same with the life jacket. So you add falling off a paddleboard, you have this cold water experience, this involuntary reaction your body has to the shock of cold water. You're gasping for air. Oh crap, I should have put my life jacket on. It's underneath all these ropes on the top of your paddleboard that's hard to get on top of. What's the likelihood of you getting that life jacket on? Very small. So just wear the life jacket. I remember when I was younger floating, when I cared a little bit more about my vanity, I was like, I don't want to wear the life jacket. I got to get these tan lines so when I come back to school or college, I look all good. Now I just wear it all the time. I do a lot of things on the water, and I take pride in my life jacket tan lines. I think just knowing that I'm safe if I fall in the water, and that I'm able to come home safely to the people that care about me. Yeah. So wear the life jacket.
Yeah, and I think there's another thing that is very important that, we talk a lot with a lot of guides, and we talk about, outfitter families, where like if you're raising kids and you're in the water space, your kid kind of grows up with a lot more respect for the river. And like I remember when my kids were really little, as they're growing out of life jackets every season, is like, we would go on nice warm rivers and we would have them float rapids. Like just float rapids with the life jacket and see how it works. And the first time we floated rapids with my youngest, I was holding on to him. We're all laying back. We got our toes up. We're like, all right, we're perfectly in the position. As soon as we hit the first wave, he just crawled down my arm and up onto my chest and literally rode me through and almost just like pushing me under the water every wave. And I'm like, we get to the bottom, I'm like, oh, are you okay? He's like, oh yeah, it's fine. As soon as I just crawled up on you, Dad, it was no problem.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, yeah. So Dad was actually your flotation.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like one of those things where your kids are out. There was a lot of rivers around the state that aren't that cold, and especially around here. We have the Klamath River just to the south of us, and it's very warm.
Yeah.
And like some of the rivers out east, where it's crazy. You get on a river and it's like 70-degree water, and you're just like, wow, this is like a bathtub.
Yep.
But those are perfect places to just put your life jacket on and float some rapids.
You can still get tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like tiredness sneaks up on you, and all of a sudden you're having a hard time swimming.
I think something that's really neat that the state Marine Board is doing is this boating safety advocate program that Priscilla is working on, and the whole Marine Board is that it's like trying to reverse that culture where, that we see a lot in the fishing society, the drift fishermen, or the motorized out in the bays, that I don't see them wearing, a lot of them, but a lot of them are kind of keying in on it, is I see them wearing, the people that I see getting in accidents or have gotten in an accident or had a close call, when I go back out in the water and, we see them, they're then wearing them because they had that kind of near death or close call that they're like, hey, it's a good idea. But what's neat with the BSA program is the outreach into the schools, working with youth to try to instill in the culture that's like, hey, this is just part of it. Again, Priscilla was saying with the seatbelt, this is just part. We live in this incredible area, as Priscilla said, that we live in a wild and scenic river hotbed, right? And that doesn't even include all of our 360 miles of coastline we have in the state of Oregon. We are surrounded by water in the state, and it's amazing. And we have all these recreational opportunities. And so why is it so hard with our culture to have, as recreation continues to improve and technology, thanks to Sawyer, right? And why is that such a hard thing? And so the BSA program's been really working with the youth to say, hey, this is just part of it. This is what we do, right? There's so many nice life jackets out there that you can purchase, or if you need a life jacket, the state's a resource to go get one. There's no reason why you shouldn't be wearing one. Right.
That's where, in the schools is where the statewide life jacket fit program can start.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
Put it in,
That'd be great.
And have you got your fit certification?
I'm sure there's donors out there right now that may listen to this.
There you go. Statewide life jacket fit center.
Because
fit program in every school.
Yep.
Being a person or being somebody, back to the law enforcement, first responders, being a person that does take somebody out of the water that is passed away,
right?
Especially when you're dealing with their family at the same time, it's not a nice experience. It's a terrible experience. It's preventative, right? All these preventative. It's just it's usually a real shock to the community when something happens in your community. Right? When there's a drowning on the road in this section, it hurts not just that person and their family, the whole community is from that.
And we were just talking the other day about, it's kind of like when you go on the river, know the conditions, know the levels, know what's changing, and then use the proper gear.
Yep.
And it's like we live in the age of the internet, so much information is at your fingertips. You can get your shuttle on an app. You can get all your river flows on your phone. So it's like, do the research and find out that information. But yeah, it's like the river user doesn't quite do all their due diligence if they just go once or twice a year. And that's the thing. It's like really want to reach the people that are only going once or twice a year. Because the people that go all the time, they're tuned into it. They're like, they take friends and it's like, here, this is what we do. This is what you're going to have. This is what you're going to wear. This is your footwear. This is your life jacket. This is, this is where you put sunscreen on, and this is why you don't put a whole bunch on your forehead, and all the stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the occasional user, how do they get that educational piece?
And I think the state Marine Board is big on that. That's that piece that the state is, we need to, there needs to be more outreach to those that are those one-time two users, or youth groups or communities that need more opportunity to get on the water. And the state provides those opportunities, or does outreach to get those opportunities. It's super important for it, because again, all these kids coming through our public school systems or the homeschool or whatever, should have the opportunity to enjoy
Right.
these
You should have, at least some river safety knowledge.
Yeah, just to get on and experience it, because it's amazing. We were lucky to have it as a youth. You were lucky, right?
Yeah.
As youth,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're constantly talking with folks about is like how, like in this country, we don't teach whitewater rafting in school.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, how do people really get involved in whitewater rafting and whitewater kayaking and all of those things? Is literally, it's by connections of friends and family, or connections in their community. There's youth groups that do outings, there's church groups that do outings, there's community bits, but there's nothing really, once again, at the scholastic level.
Yeah.
But I mean, how great would that be? Is with the statewide life jacket fit program, was that you get to go on the river when you graduate 8th grade or 6th grade or whatever.
Yeah.
But basically just being part of that, especially starting with the fact that if you're in a river community, like if you grow up and there's a river within 100 miles of you or 50 miles of you, then this should be something that's an option for your school district.
I got a question. So how many of the guide outfitters in the Rogue Valley, I'm sure that, because a lot of their workforce is coming out of high school, right? Or college, right? The guide, right? Yeah. And that's such a cool avenue that kids have here in the Rogue Valley, right? Or, to be able to get into that, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of colleges at least now have outdoor rec programs that have a lot of that equipment. And I mean, that's how I got involved. That's how several of the people that I have trained in guiding, that's like how they got started. And yeah, I mean, now there's actually, there's whole majors on just, whitewater rafting and recreational boating and all that kind of thing. But yeah, it's just kind of like college level. I think that there are plenty of those. There's definitely those entities out there if you're looking for them. But like, we don't really have that much at all in the younger, in the grade school and junior high level of really is where these kids literally are getting that point where they are starting to go on all these trips with their friends of friends of friends. And, did they get that knowledge or not,
One of my favorite demographics of kids is middle schoolers, because, going into the schools, and we're talking water safety, we used to talk about the importance of life jackets and why they fit. When we get the conversion of the 12 to 13-year-olds, because we get the 13-year-olds, like, I don't got to wear it anymore. I'm a really good swimmer.
Right.
We hear that all the time. Like, I'm sure you are a really good swimmer. And then, of course, go on to why detail the importance of why they're learning so important. But, I love that age group because, they're ready to go.
They're ready to conquer the world. Yeah, they're invincible.
Yeah, so it's neat to be able to get out to them and talk to them about it and what is out there.
And I think one of the things I feel proud of with the Boating Safety Advocate Program is we're trying to fill this gap in knowledge, right? We're talking about this age group of, going to college is a privileged group, right? Not everyone gets the opportunity to experience college and outdoor programs. Going to summer camp is, again, a privileged activity to varying degrees. Having a family that knows about water safety is a privileged thing.
Right.
Being a woman that knows about whitewater safety is a privileged thing. When I first started working as a guide, I was one of 3 women at an entire company in 2 states that was a guide. And that wasn't that long ago. I'm only 35 and I started working as a guide when I was 19. So we have to remember that there's these barriers over time that have excluded populations from the opportunity of water safety education. And I think what we're trying to do with the Marine Board is close that gap. Go to popular recreation sites in both rural areas and metro areas. Popular city access, even if it's primarily swimmers, we're trying, and Luke as well, is we're trying to educate groups of youth in general public that may have not had the opportunity to water safety education at any point in their life. And that really is the part of the public that we're trying to serve most. It's not the people like us that have the privilege of growing up on the road. All of us grew up on the road to some degree, and had water safety as a part of just our background inherently. So,
Absolutely.
And on that, the state I know does a great job, especially with the law enforcement programs or contracts with all these counties, is the collaborative effort, right? It's just a collaborative effort, just not of agencies or law enforcement. It's like communities, like what you're doing, what Sawyer is doing, what these raft companies are doing. It takes a collaborative effort to really push all these things, and it's important that everybody's kind of on board with that. Absolutely. Supports it, which I think a lot of these communities do.
Oh yeah, I mean, river communities are pretty tight.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the river communities are definitely pretty tight, and that's another place where, you know, I think some of these grassroots programs can start just in river communities as pilot events where, you know, they just kind of get out there and try it for you know, the summer season, or like the very beginning of the summer, somewhere close to the school year. Maybe it's the very beginning of the season, but timing wise would probably be, you know, a little harder to schedule.
Later fall, depending on which school systems we're talking about. And then as they're getting ready, as the, you know, the temperature's heating up, is what I find to be, at least in our state in Oregon,
Right.
That's kind of the prime time is fall, when, especially here in Southern Oregon, is it's still hot enough to want to go entertaining on the weekend for at least the first few weeks of school. Sometimes
pretty
all the way
much
up to
most all of
Halloween.
September is like, it's like, yeah, I mean, yes, Labor Day has happened and the kids are back to school, but the river is still there and the weather is still fairly warm.
Exactly.
Well, excellent. Well, Priscilla, why don't you just, we will put these addresses and such in the descriptor of the episode here, but tell people what's the best way to contact the State Marine Board. What's the best way to get some information on some of these programs we've talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way, since almost everyone nowadays is connected to the internet, is boat.oregon.gov is our agency website. We have all sorts of resources. We even have a link to a free non-motorized paddling safety course. It's pretty fun to do. I've done it just to try it out, and it teaches kind of the concepts of how to pick out a paddle, how to put your life jacket on, how to pick out the right life jacket, to some just basic water safety. We also have sections that talk about policy and other more involved things, how to register your motorized boat if you have a motorized boat, that sort of thing, where to get your waterway access pass for your non-motorized. If you want to talk to a person about a very specific thing, just scroll down on that website or Google Oregon State Marine Board. The phone number on there will get you to a real person, and that real person will walk back from their desk, and they will direct the call to one of us in the back office. If we're in the office, if I'm in the field, or someone you're trying to get a hold of is in the field, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But we're a pretty small agency, and we try to get back to people as soon as possible, if not immediately, whenever they have questions. So check out the website, see what you can find there, and if you want to talk to a person, just call the number for the state agency, and we'd be happy to talk to you.
All righty. Well, Priscilla and Luke, thank you very much for joining us out here. All of you that were watching, thank you very much for joining us on this podcast episode. And if you did like this episode, please tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your river community, and get out there on the river and enjoy it. If you do get out on the river, remember, be patient, be calm, and we will see you on the river. If you want to check out any of the prior episodes that we've done, or anything with Sawyer Paddles and Oars, check out our website at paddlesandoars.com. And we will see you next time on the water. All righty, rapid questions in the rapid with both Luke and Priscilla. So we will basically call them out by name and take it from there. And we are coming into the rapid. Let's go forward 2. And first rapid question goes to Priscilla. What was the first river you ever went on as a recreational paddler?
The Rogue River.
Nice. Luke, what is the first river system that you ever had any work on?
Chaco River.
Nice. Priscilla, what is the bucket list river on your to-do list before you stop boating?
Middle Fork Feather.
Nice. Back it up 2. Good. Luke, what is your dearest and closest mountain range of all time?
Tell me up.
Tell me opposite. Priscilla, have you ever been on the Grand Canyon?
I have.
What is your favorite rapid on the Grand Canyon?
Jubendor in lava.
Over 2. Priscilla, again, what's your favorite camp on the Grand Canyon?
Oh, I don't even remember the camp names. Dang it. What are the big sandy ones?
One of the big sandy ones. All right.
Oh, that's a good one. We didn't.
And Luke, have you ever been on the Grand Canyon?
Yes.
Nice. What's your favorite rapid on the Grand Canyon?
I want to say lava and horning.
Nice, nice. And if you were to describe the Chetco River with one word, Luke, what would it be?
Majestic.
Majestic. And Priscilla, if you were to describe the Rogue River in one word, what would it be?
Ultra classic.
Ultra classic. That's cheating. That's 2 words. So we'll have to take your
Hyphenated.
first word will be ultra.
Ultra.
All righty, and that's Rapid Questions in the Rapid. Thank you very much. What's your favorite 2 rapids?
Yeah.
Uh,